All right, what's going on, guys? So recently I was with my mom and we were going somewhere and we had parked at a very tall, very large, and very busy parking garage. And I remember parking, I think it was on the 11th or the ninth floor, and it went up to the 11th floor. And as we had parked, we wanted to get into this elevator shaft that a lot of people were waiting on. And we could see already that as the doors opened, people got out. It was still packed. When it was going down, we had missed a few of them because it was already packed from a lot of people that were entering from the floors above us. And we didn't want to walk. It was 9 floors. And I noticed a couple of guys in front of us who had pressed both the up arrow and the down arrow. And when they had pressed the up arrow and the elevator had come, it was nearly empty. And so they got into the elevator. And quickly I thought, oh man, that's so smart actually. The elevator is so busy. And whenever you go down and you wait on your chance to get in the elevator, oftentimes because it's so packed from the people from the 11th floor and from the 10th floor, by the time it gets to you, you don't have any room, and so you can't go down. And so you're risking this kind of roulette game of seeing if you can get space. But rather, wouldn't it make more sense to grab your spot, especially during this busy time as it goes up, because it's going to go up anyway to drop people off. And instead, you can secure your spot as it goes down. And so I looked at that. I thought that's so smart. So I got into the elevator. I pressed up and my mom was with me and we thought the same thing. Oh, like, that's pretty smart. Let's get in. So we got in and there were some people with us. And I think, they got off at, 10th, 11th floor, or whatever it was. But as we got to the 11th floor, people were waiting for us to kind of get out, but obviously we didn't get out. And, people didn't really think much of it, but they just hopped in. And I don't know if people judged us or whatnot. It didn't really matter. But when I looked at that, I just confidently stood there in the elevator and just thought, man, nobody knows the story. They don't know where we were at on the 9th floor, how long we had to wait, and how we had come to this epiphany of the fact that we need to do this sort of unorthodox method to secure our spot so that we can go down. And as the door opened on the 10th and the 9th and the 8th floor, some of the same people, they were just waiting. And so I was just like, oh, wow, it's definitely a smart decision. And so we ended up, going about our way. But later I just felt the Holy Spirit, speaking to me and telling me that it was like life. And it's just like how a lot of us, we go through life and we think that you have to go through a certain way. You have to go press down to get to a certain, A to B part in your life, that you have to do it a certain way, the way that makes sense to society, the way that makes sense to the people around you, and that you don't want to risk taking and going down a path that might be unusual, but it works better. It's more effective, more efficient, and it gets you to the end goal and the end place in a better way. And a lot of us, we don't look at that way. We're so stuck in thinking that we have to go about the way that society tells us, that our parents tells us, our friends, and whoever it is, our church leaders, our friends, and that we have to do it this way or that way. But a lot of us, we actually went through ways that God has given us, which is, a deviation. It seems like it is off the beaten path. And it's ways that God had intended for us to get to the end goal, but we didn't realize it. Whether intentionally you went down that path later to realize that, oh, wow, it worked out for me, or whether God had intentionally thrown you on an elevator that went up only to have gone down. And the crazy thing is that a lot of people, they're not going to realize this. Only God knows where you have been from the very beginning to the very end of your life and through whatever process that you're going through. And as much as my mom was with me, she knew and she got it. But for those that came in on the 10th floor, the ones, especially on the 11th floor, who saw us do a reversal, those people, they don't know. They weren't there from the beginning. They weren't there to understand the long wait that we had, the epiphany we got from seeing the 2 other people doing the same thing, and the entire journey and the entire process. So it'll be very hard for many others to see that and to understand that, because they haven't been there like God has been there, like even other brothers and sisters may have been there, but only for a part of the journey. So that's what makes it so blessing and so encouraging, because you may look at your situation, you may look at what's going on in your life, the craziness, the deviations, the twists and turns, and you may think that it doesn't make sense, that it's stupid. But for God, it makes all the sense in the world, because God was just trying to get you to your end goal. And even if it took what seemed to be a longer path, what seemed to be a deviation, what seemed to be against the ways of the world and what makes sense in the world, God had intended that for your good so that you can get there safely, effectively, efficiently, and that you could learn something. And when I saw that, when I saw the other people do it, and when I did it myself, I thought, oh, that's a smart thing. And I learned a lot from it. I learned to not face judgment. I learned to be a little more confident in some of these unorthodox methods. And it doesn't matter what people thought. It doesn't matter what people judge you with. It doesn't even matter if you have to explain it or not, because a lot of people, they weren't there from the beginning and they're not going to fully get it. And so a lot of us have to realize that in life. A lot of us, as God is taking you on this journey, He's allowing you to see that there's an off the beaten path that you may have to take, and that you have to realize is a will, a plan that God has for you. And so as much as I learned and as much as I was blessed by this small experience, a lot of you will have to do that for your life and for what you're going through and for your situations and everything that God has given you and appointed you in this season and in this time for you to go through. And so don't think so narrow-minded. Don't be so honed in on this way or that way. Open yourself up, and more importantly, pray about it and give it up to the Lord, and see if God would give you insight into if this is a smart thing to do, if this is of His will, or if it's something that is, maybe a prodigal son type of story for you. And so it's all in God's timing, in His plan. Be encouraged by this. God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.